You guys know what today is? It's a holiday. So was yesterday, by the way. It's October 13th.
Rorschach's Journal, October 13th, 1985. Soon it will be dark. Beneath me, this awful city. It screams like an abattoir full of children.
Abattoir of R-worded Children Day, as far as Rorschach is concerned. Yesterday was
October 12th, 1985. Dog carcass in alley this morning. Tire tread on burst stomach.
Dog carcass with tire tread on burst stomach day. For those of you who have read or even seen Watchmen, there's a couple of entries in Rorschach's journal involving these 2 days.
The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up about their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us." And I'll look down and whisper, "No."
So yeah, cool guy, man. Rorschach. Let me know, are you a big fan of Rorschach? You think he's like a cool ass hero or what? Because if so, you're wrong. Set you up. Yeah, everybody was into motion comics at the time because at the time that was almost the best we got as far as adaptations. Because, you know, in those days you had X-Men and Spider-Man both of those were pretty good. But other than that, you had Daredevil and Ghost Rider and all this stuff that was not great adaptations. So when it came to motion comics, it was like, as a comic fan, you're getting the comic on screen. Yeah, he was crazy. Rorschach is crazy. And I don't think that anybody in my audience probably is a fan of his. And I touched on this in my Watchmen video from pretty much exactly 3 years ago. He's not a hero. He's not a good dude. And basically, if anybody ever tells you, hey, I think Rorschach was the real hero of the story, or he had the right idea, just run. Just run. Because that's what Alan Moore said whenever he said people would come up to him and go, "Oh, I love Watchmen. Rorschach's so cool." And Alan Moore's like, "Please get the fuck away from me." It's just something I wanted to talk about real quick, is that some people seem to mistake a cool, interesting character to read about with an admirable character. Thankfully, I don't encounter these people very often, but I have seen them. Other characters like that are, let's see, Tyler Durden, the Joker. Yes, including the Joker from the more recent film. And I want to go into this, more deeply at some point in the future, maybe soon. I don't know. About like at what point does a character like Arthur Fleck, the Joker, go from a sympathetic, not a villain, to being a villain? And I think that's up for, discussion, debate, so to speak. It's interesting. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, along with my friend who we've been watching through Breaking Bad. She hasn't seen it. I've seen it a couple times, and we were just starting the final season. And it's to the point where she is very frustrated watching it because, Walter White has, if you've seen the show, by the time season 5 starts, Walter White has pretty much gone full villain. And it's, that's why it's an interesting show, because at first he's very sympathetic and you're like, I kind of get why you're doing this. And then, he ends up in situations that he has to deal with to survive, basically. And he has to do unfortunate things, but it's usually to bad people. And it's like, you can't completely call him a villain, but just, it's like the frog in boiling water throughout the series. It's just little by little, water's getting hotter, and the water being his morality, and the heat being immorality. All right, I didn't think that through. I thought Tyler was a cool character too. It's the problem with these types of characters is that they say cool stuff, and they often are enemies with the right people, right? Like Joker, Arthur Fleck, had some solid points, same as Heath Ledger Joker. Like their analysis is often pretty decent. It's just the actions they take. And we talked about this on my birthday stream the other day, a little bit. The difference between a villain and a hero, essentially, is the actions and the actions they take and how much they harm other people. Yeah, we had that whole stream talking about him the other day. The same stream, actually. He's kind of grumpy. You know, let the man be grumpy, right? Like, he's earned it. I don't think he's hurting anybody. I may disagree with him, but I'll always respect him and appreciate his contributions to comics. So, and that's another one. Yeah, obviously, I've done a couple of videos on that. The Punisher is another one. Yeah, we know what kind of people idolize the Punisher at this point. It's become pretty clear that there is a pretty stark ideological divide between people who like the Punisher and then the people who know what the Punisher is intended to convey. The fundamental issue is, I think, is media literacy, right? Are you watching or reading or whatever media with a superficial understanding to where just like, oh man, Tyler Durden looks cool, he says cool shit, or the Punisher totally blows away the bad guys. You know, that's awesome. If that's the extent of your analysis, you got problems. And Rorschach, you know, he doesn't compromise, right? He's got all those cool lines about not compromising and stuff. But then you listen to the stuff he says, and the dude is fucking crazy. He's crazy, and he has a very judgmental kind of thing going on. It seems to me like an inferiority complex where he's like, nobody lives up to his morals or his code or anything. And he talks about the whores and politicians or whatever, and their sex and their greed or whatever. And it's like, dude, you literally don't bathe. Nobody can stand to be around you because you smell like a bag of assholes, you know? Yeah, that's right. Hobo Bat. I actually said all of this in my freaking hour and a half plus content that I've done on the subject. You should check it out. Right. Thank you, Neo. You can empathize with the villain's backstory, but not empathize with their actions when they commit unforgivable crimes. Exactly. And then, you know, I don't know if unforgivable is the right word. You know, it depends if we're talking about ethically or in the justice system or what it is. Those kinds of terms get a little subjective, and it's hard to come to a consensus on it. But, you know, generally, the way I see it, and I've been thinking about it a lot because of Breaking Bad, is, look, people make mistakes. People hurt other people accidentally, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're, you know, like evil villains or whatever, depending on the example. But the thing to me is, if you are causing harm to people around you, or, you know, like innocent people, that's another subjective word. But basically, if the actions you're taking are causing someone harm or pain, especially people who have nothing to do with anything, that, you know, you're just like, it's just, you're creating chaos that hurts people, rippling outward, and you either don't realize it because you're not, you know, you don't care, or you do realize it and you don't take steps to change it. Magneto is a good example because he's done some pretty awful shit. You know, earlier on, he was just a villain in the X-Men comics, and you know, he I think killed some people. Pretty sure he killed a few people in his pursuit. Now, he was right in the idea that mutants shouldn't be oppressed, and that if we allow these humans to, they will definitely do a Holocaust on us the same way they did to my people, the Jewish people. All that's valid. But then he starts hurting people, and he's not actually achieving anything, and he's hurting innocent people, people that, you know, by hurting them, you're not doing anything to solve the problem that there is. So even if your problem is just and valid, yeah, not good. But he, over time, has become more of a hero, I guess, or X-Man generally. He's gone back and forth, but because his struggle is he wants to do the right thing. He wants to do it the way that, you know, Xavier thinks it should be done, or find a middle ground or whatever. But he kind of sucks at it sometimes. You know, so that's why it's difficult to just call him evil, because he really does try. But yeah, you know, it's a conversation worth having. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say, and it's you know, it's not hard to say a word that can be picked apart when talking about this stuff, right? Because you're talking about morality, you're talking about generalities of what harm is. All of this stuff can be, it's all worth discussing for sure. I didn't mean to say you're wrong, just to, you know, try to dig down a little deeper on it. Yeah, I don't know. I think with Magneto, with Black Adam, there's a lot of ego there that at least in the stuff I've read with him, that seems unnecessary. And the fact that he's so, I guess he's a nationalist essentially. It's like he only cares really about his country.
The dusk reeks of fornication and bad consciences. I believe I shall take my exercise.
Yeah, what is I mean, we know what fornication means, but what does bad consciences mean? You know, like those are the type of language that I would encourage anybody who hasn't to really stop and think about how subjective that is. And when you think about how fucking crazy Rorschach is, you never know what he means by that. He's extremely judgmental. It's like, who are you? You know, Mr. doesn't bathe and eats cold beans from a can. You know, like, who are you to judge what I do? At least I bathe and eat hot beans from a bowl. You know, Neo, that's something I've thought about a lot. And there's been a couple of times when I've thought about making a video on it. Like, what is Dr. Doom's, you know, is he ethical? Is he not? Is he a hero? And it's really, really tricky. He may be one of the trickiest characters in the Marvel universe anyway to try to pin down, because essentially he's an authoritarian. I think the issue is with Dr. Doom is that he is a person that cannot exist in real life. And I don't just mean because of the magic and science stuff. I mean because he's an authoritarian who actually runs his country well, and people are taken care of. They're all fed well. They have health coverage and shit. Like, you know, nobody's really suffering. The only thing they don't have is free speech, in the sense that they can't criticize Latveria or Doom. So that's really the issue with analyzing him, is that an authoritarian who's actually makes everyone happy and feeds everyone and stuff, at least thus far, has never really existed. To answer the first question, no, we're not supposed to idealize anti-heroes. Yeah, that's the point, is to contrast against more heroic characters. You know, that's why I said in my Punisher videos that I like the Punisher as a character in the right story. Ideally, to me, the Punisher works best when he teams up with Spider-Man or Daredevil or any character that doesn't kill. Those are when I've always found Punisher most compelling, because he wants to kill, he's trying to kill, and in a lot of cases, like, Spider-Man's having to literally web up his gun at the last minute and stuff like that to stop him from murdering people. And like, then they'll kind of get into an ideological conversation, the same way in Daredevil season 2, when he has Daredevil chained up on the roof, and they get into that discussion. It's really awesome. It's one of the reasons it's one of the best freaking superhero scenes, because they really get into it. The issue that we're talking about. True. Yeah, that's the thing, is that, like, it would seem, at least how they've depicted it in the comics, that Doom generally is better than anybody else that tries to run the country. But at the end of the day, it's a dictatorship, no matter who's running it. An autocracy that works on the honor system. Yeah, I gotta eat hot beans. I mean, that shows you how fucking crazy he is right there, eating cold beans from a can. Come on, get out of here.